Hello, everybody. Now we can start. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the technology presentation by Netix on Sprint 2023. My name is NEVEN DILKOV. I am the founder and the CEO of the first global internet exchange in the world. It's in Netix. And I will be presenting to you today regarding cybersecurity. Now, cybersecurity is a very, very big topic. It can only be covered by global companies and global networks because this is a global threat. It really needs somebody that has the understanding and the coverage of the whole network in the internet to understand how these threats work. And nowadays, these are real threats. You know that not only individual users and competition, but sometimes whole governments are playing with this technology and making it difficult for companies to operate normally. It is a very big problem. The cybersecurity problems are leading to not only to downtime on your network. Very often it creates serious financial problems. We have seen online stores and companies that are making tens of thousands of dollars every minute go down and start losing money right away. I mean, I used to have a customer that every time they had been down for 7 minutes, he would present me the invoice and show me how much money they have actually not made during that period of time. But it could also be lead to a reputation damage. Your customers want to know, if you are an ISP, customers want to know that you're reliable, that you carry for their network, that you make sure that their service works all the time. If you're a government agency, if you're a bank, we have a lot of banks that are our customers. They don't care how we do it. They just want to make sure that their services are always right. Because for a bank, to show non-operational website means that customers stop relying on them, stop trusting them. And in the banking business, trust is everything. As you can see, I'm juggling here between my English and Portuguese version because my Portuguese is not very good, for which I apologize. But with the help of Dominic here, you can wave. I'm going to present the technology. So let's see what type of cybersecurity threats, what type of attacks there are. The short answer is there are many. There are probably 20, 30 major types of attacks and maybe hundreds of smaller variations. But if you want to bundle them in main groups, there are basically 3 main types of attacks. The first one is the so-called volumetric attack, which is the first one here. It represents about 64% of what we see as attacks in our network. All the data that you see here is based on the real data that we collect in our Netix network. The volumetric attack is when somebody is sending huge amounts of data, sometimes hundreds and hundreds of gigabits to your network, which is designed to handle maybe a few gigabits or 10 or at most 100 or 200 gigabits. Our maximum attacks, maximum size attacks that we have handled in our history is more than 700 gigabits at one point of time, continuous for several days. The second type of attack is a protocol attack. Now, the protocol attack is very interesting. It doesn't rely on gigabits and gigabits of data, but it relies on the fact that most of the protocols, HTTP protocols or specific web server protocols, mail server protocols, they are designed to handle a certain amount of packets per second. And those number of packets per second, they're not infinite. You cannot have billions and billions of packets handled every second. It's simply not possible. And because this is the case, if you start sending a relatively small number of small packets to your web services, the result is that they get overloaded, they crash, and they cannot handle it. So even if your traffic doesn't jump very much, you might be under an attack if some of your services stopped working. And the third type of attack is the so-called application attack. The application attack is even more interesting because it relies on the specific way of working of a one application. So you could have an attack that is specifically targeting the web application of a bank, of one particular bank. You could have an attack that is crafted specifically to target this bank and this application or this online store. Not all of them, just this one. And that also happens. So what do you do? What do we do in this situation? Now, we have been dealing, and you could be dealing with this problem for many, many years. And you will discover that it never ends. The creativity of the hackers that are not non-ethical hackers is almost infinite, as is the efforts of companies that are trying to fix this problem. And in the beginning, when we started, we had serious problems. We didn't know how to handle large traffic. We didn't know how to handle application traffic. But over the years, we started to learn. We used various applications, various technologies. There are many of those that you can use, and I will show you the result. One of the major types of solutions is the so-called cloud solution, or in English it's called a scrubbing center. Scrubbing center is kind of a simple word for something that is a complex machinery that is connected to a lot of gigabits of internet traffic, and it can get a lot of gigabits inside and get it processed. The best scrubbing centers can handle up to several terabits of data to go inside them. That means that any volumetric attack that goes through the scrubbing center can get inside the scrubbing center. Now, the job of the scrubbing center is to clean it, to analyze the traffic, see which of those packets are malicious packets, bad packets, and take them down. So at the end of the scrubbing center, you get clean traffic. The problem with the scrubbing center is that it's really huge machinery. You cannot have that in every city, in every house. That's impossible. So you usually have it in major data centers, in a major territorial locations. Like you could have one in Rio, one in Sao Paulo, but not in every city. It's impossible. And the really big ones are sitting in Miami, in Frankfurt, in other cities in the world. Another solution would be to use a much smaller device. Usually those are specific, they look like servers. Separate devices, they're called appliances. And you put them inside your network. If you're an ISP, you can have one of these appliances in your network to protect your customers. And these devices are usually, they can handle less traffic. You know, the best ones can handle up to 80 gigabits, 100 gigabits, not terabits of traffic. But their benefit is that they can do a lot of analysis on the application level and on the protocol level. They can really you can really fine tune how this device is working for you. And of course there is a so-called hybrid solution. And now the hybrid solution it is the best thing that you can actually do. Now, from the global internet, where usually the attacks come from, you channel your traffic and all the attacks through a scrubbing center first. And this takes down all the really large attacks. Because if you don't do that, and the attack goes to your firewall, this application server, the appliance, the firewall server, if it gets there, it will simply crash the appliance because it cannot handle hundreds and hundreds of gigabits of data. It can only handle small. But if you use first the scrubbing center, the global cloud there, this thing doesn't have a pointer, but it's over here, then you get it through the firewall appliance. The result is that you can have the good things of both solutions. You can handle the large volumetric attacks, but you can also handle the really low volume application-specific or protocol-specific attacks. It's very interesting. What, however, it requires, I mean, this is not, this doesn't solve all problems. There could still be many specific attacks, and what we usually do in such situations is we have trained our network operations center, 24-hour center, and you need people to look at these attacks all the time. It's impossible to foresee every combination of attack that can come, but you can train your people to recognize them and adjust the filters, adjust the thresholds of both of your appliance and the scrubbing center so that you can quickly react, so that you can learn. And because these are really expensive solutions, I will show you one solution that is actually very cheap, and it works very well too. This is the so-called, the so-called smart black holing. Now, black holing is something very simple. It works in only specific situations when there are no major attacks that target a lot of customers. But if the attack is targeting specific customers on your network, like home users or something, the smart black holing can stop the traffic going to a specific IP address, and this is done in the router. You don't even have to buy any complicated firewalls or scrubbing centers. The smart holing works on an IP per IP basis. It's very granular, very specific, but this is what it does. It stops all the traffic. So if there is an attacker that is trying to hit, some of your IP addresses, by stopping the traffic to them, you are freeing your network from malicious traffic. However, this of course is not without drawbacks, because if the attacker is attacking many of your IP addresses, then this is not going to help because you will simply stop all your traffic. It's not nice. So what do we do in all these situations? I can tell you that the best solution is to have this combined approach. Having people watch the network, train your machines, and basically train your scrubbing center, train your appliances so that they can handle the attacks that come your way. And I can tell you some real world data. Several years ago when we started doing this, I will give it to, we were having every other day an attack of hundreds of gigabits, like 600 gigabits, 700 gigabits for days and days in a row. We started working with that. We started implementing scrubbing centers, appliances, everything. And slowly, we started stopping all these attacks one by one, all kind of attacks. And right now, when I finish, I will show you a very interesting a portal that shows that since the beginning of this month of May, we have handled several thousand attacks already, but they're very small because the attackers, what they do, they try one way and see if it works. If they discover that it works, they will attack you big time. If they discover that it doesn't work, they don't spend the money to attack you. They simply stop. And with all those several thousands attacks that we are handling, we currently almost we have almost no malicious traffic. There is no attacks right now. No big full-time attacks going on in our network right now. To prove that, I'll give you one more example. A couple of years ago, we were supplying a service to a bank, to one of the big banks in Bulgaria, where I am from, by the way. And at one point, they had an internal audit, and they said, okay, you are having this supplier for cybersecurity, but you haven't tested anything else. How do you know that they're the best? And of course, you know, we think that we are doing a very good job, but they wanted to have a proof. So they said, okay, we're opening a tender. We will invite other suppliers to do this for us, and we will also hire an Israeli company that is doing cybersecurity penetration. Basically, they will attack on purpose their website to see that the different suppliers can actually stop those attacks. And they did it. Our solution stopped about 96% of the attacks. The other solution that they were trying, which was from one of the global, very expensive and very big suppliers of cybersecurity solutions. Oops, sorry. The other solution stopped about 60% of the attacks. So we proved, well, we didn't prove, the external Israeli company that was doing the penetration testing actually proved that our solution is working very well. And this is how the control panel works. The control panel is something that we put on top of all the solutions that we have. The scrubbing center, the appliance, the smart black holing, everything is controlled in one place. So it's easy for the people that are managing the traffic to stop the attacks. Some more, it's not, it disappeared, something happened. Just a second. Ah, yeah. This is, it's not very well visible, but it shows, you know, the panel shows a very detailed, you know, description of all the attacks. I can even show you. I can show you some other things when I finish, but this is the end of the presentation, and I will switch now to another screen, just to show you the number of attacks. Here shows the number of attacks since the beginning of May. Now, can I zoom in so it's better visible? This shows the types of attacks that we have handled. You can see it's in English, but the first two are the voluminous attacks, meaning the large-scale attacks, and all the rest are the protocol or application type of attacks. And you can see how many we have handled since the beginning of this month only. there are more than 3,000. It's actually probably close to 4,000. And I will show you one more thing. This is the live statistic. Not this one, sorry. Not this one. This is the live statistics of our network, our global network. You can see, let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, this is, you can see here on top the different countries that this network operates. This is from Austria, Brazil, Bulgaria, then goes to France, Germany, all over the whole place. And it shows only one problem, and this is, mind you, this is live data from our network. This is not something that I have for the presentation. Every time you go to the website, you can see that live data, I mean, you know, everywhere. And there are thresholds of when a number, you know, a link goes with bad quality, like here. All the rest, as you can see, are in a perfect situation. So I think this concludes my presentation. My friend Sergio here. If you want to add, you know, a few words.
Não, obrigado. A apresentação dele é muito legal, porque traz para a gente experiência, né, de combater problemas de cibersegurança em um universo que já lida com isso há mais tempo e, portanto, eles têm uma experiência para mostrar algo já mais amadurecido, mais maturado e dizer que existem soluções que podem ser combinadas. Essa é a grande questão. Eles têm lá a solução deles, é muito bacana, mas envolve não só a questão de mitigação em nuvem, como a gente está habituado a ver, como também a implantação de appliances locais dentro dos ISPs, o que acaba trazendo por um tempo zero uma mitigação e o retardamento de ameaças de cibersegurança. Vou deixar o contato no final, né? Para quem quiser falar com ele, vamos ver mais sobre as soluções e bater um papo.
So, yes. This is actually part of the portal, and it's showing in a very visual way the type of attacks that we handle. The types of attacks are also visible too, and it's easy to work and to understand. The end result is that the Bulgarian National Assembly, this is the parliament, is a customer. The cybercrime unit of the Interior Ministry is a customer. Several banks and financial institutions are customers, and they're enjoying 100% clean traffic right now. Thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Como que está o crescimento dos ataques em IPv6?
He's asking about the IPv6 growing attacks per day or at this time. How is the attacks in IPv6?
The IP version 6 attacks are growing, this is true. But because of the prevalence, most of the important websites are still IP version 4. And some of the global telecom operators are keeping them in IP version 4, specifically for the reason so they cannot be attacked with IP version 6. Because with IP version 6, if everything goes to IP version 6, it will be a lot more difficult and will require larger capacity bandwidth of the scrubbing centers and the equipment to handle it. So most of the important websites are putting their most important content in IP version 4, and they try to limit the use of IP version 6. It is not good for the network because we all know that IP version 4 numbers are small number, they're not enough. But in terms of cybersecurity, this is a better solution now. Did you get it?
Mais alguém? Opa, lá atrás.
Somebody else?
Here.
Hi. Do you guys have any minor appliance that could be installed on the end consumer and not on the ESP network, but on the consumer itself? Something that could be better, but in the final consumer.
Can you just state your name and company just so I know?
My name is Emerson. I'm from Multifibra. It's a ISP, so we attend the end consumers, and our interest is to have minor appliance that could have better price, né? And then install it on the end consumer itself.
Okay, thank you very much. There are several stages of appliances that you can use. Now, the cheapest thing that you can use is the smart black holing. Smart black holing is something that is installed by us on top of the routers. Could be a simple server or anything like that. It's not expensive at all. Maybe, I don't know, it's from few hundred to a couple of $1,000. Maybe even cheaper. Depends on the type of routers and the type of equipment that you use. This is the cheapest thing that you can use. This stops specific attacks targeted at specific IP numbers, specific users or something like that. But it saves your whole network. You stop some traffic, you save your whole network. If those are massive attacks, of course, this is not going to help. So what you do is apply, you use appliances. Now, the appliances could be different. The smallest, could be as much as $5,000, $10,000, and they would handle up to maybe 5 gigabits, 10 gigabits of traffic. The biggest that go up to 80 gigabits, 100 gigabits of traffic could be as expensive of $80,000, $100,000. Okay. So you don't, you choose the appliance depending on the amount of traffic that you need to protect. There are various, we can recommend different appliances depending on the amount of traffic and the type of attack you want to protect. But my recommendation is when you add the appliance, you always combine that with the use of a scrubbing center. Because the scrubbing center, you don't install it in your hometown. No, you don't do that. But nevertheless, 95% of all the attacks are coming from the global internet. They don't come from the next part of the city or from the next city. They come from the global internet. They come from millions of infected computers by viruses in the world that are controlled by some bad people, and they send attacks from all over the whole place. So you combine both. You make sure that your big traffic, so the big attacks are stopped by the scrubbing center, while the small attacks like the protocol level attacks and the application level attacks are stopped by your appliance. And then you have 100% clean traffic. The nice thing about the scrubbing center is that you can pay only when it's only when it's used. It could be almost free of charge if there are no attacks, and you only pay when it is being actually used. He has another question.
Do I have any way to smart switch from the end appliance that is installed on the end consumer on the last mile? When the traffic is high, I switch the DOS security to my appliance on the ISP. Can I do that? So when the traffic is low, the end appliance would solve the problem. So when it gets high, it's transferred to the ISP itself and the network with the better device, the bigger device that supports the high amount of traffic.
Yes, this is possible, and this is the right way to do it. You are very correct. The only thing that you have to realize is that you cannot do it by yourself, manually, because otherwise, Friday night, at 2 o'clock in the night, instead of having a beer in the bar, you'll be sitting and looking at the screen and clicking on stuff. So, what happens is you have to use a automatic solution, and the portal that I showed there has this this ability to configure it to automatically switch from one to the other. Is that okay? Do you understand?
Mais alguém? Só?
And what was your name? Sorry, what was your name?
É o William.
Nice meeting you. And thank you for the questions.
Mais alguém? I think that's all.
Thank you, guys. Obrigado.